for aha Ghanatube so me mama kwaba and back channel way so and I'm when you say someone who draw a course or my gun no and I de ever who's for my poa and sell back be able saying good here with your dimension na yen good here in seminar.
For the energy sector, I think the past 7 or 8 years the upstream of the petroleum has been very quiet. Although I think one of the lead companies there is Cosmos, which is American. We're told by President Mahama that some activity would resume with some drilling. What's your overall analysis of Ghana's oil sector and its potential for transformation?
Actually, you summed it up very well. 10 years ago, huge potential. And in fact, the Minister of Energy and I were discussing this last night. At one stage, you were producing 195,000 barrels, and now it's down to like 135,000. And there's been no developmental drilling in the last 7 years. So that sector isn't growing, and that's because of some things that inhibited investment or were a disincentive to investment in the sector in the last 7 years. And so President Mahama and Minister Jinapur are looking hard at that and looking to see how they can incentivize new investment. So indeed, Cosmos is interested, and there's some American other big oil companies also looking. So I think there's a lot of potential in that sector.
The compact was big when President Kufuor started with the first one, and the second one on energy, very promising. We know the reason why it was discontinued. But when you were appointed, some of my media friends said because of your background in the energy sector, we should be hopeful that you could put in a word for, if not a renewal of the council compact, certainly some conversation around the power sector because of its transformative nature. What can you tell us, General, about the possibility of any serious support in the power sector, even if not in the form of a compact? Because we see the challenges ECG is facing and we hear what the government is trying to do. What can you tell me about the power sector?
Two questions there. I'll start with the compact and then I'll go to the ECG, and please remind me if I lose my thought. On the Millennium Challenge Compact, I told President Akufo-Addo when I presented my credentials, when my letter from President Biden, that I would work with him to see if we could get another compact, because there were some missteps on the second compact, and we had to cancel $190-some million of the second compact, to the great my personal disappointment and also the disappointment of the Millennium Challenge Compact. And President Mahama, who was there for the beginning of that compact, told me when he was still a candidate that that was one of his priorities. So he and I had common cause on that. And indeed, while he was still a candidate, he went and had meetings at the Millennium Challenge Compact, which I was very happy about, and I did too. Right now, we don't know what form the Millennium Challenge Compact will take. So I remain committed to helping Ghana if new compacts become available, with helping Ghana become eligible. The two factors that are essential to eligibility are passing a scorecard, so it's governing well on behalf of your people, which Ghana does, and also maintaining a certain score on anti-corruption, which Ghana does, and it's important to keep that up. And then also to demonstrating that the last compact was successful. And a key element of the last compact was the financial viability of the ECG. Because ECG is bleeding your exchequer, and it's bleeding your exchequer more than we thought. I used the factor of $1.4 billion a year. When the Minister of Finance spoke to the National Economic Dialogue, he said $2.2 billion a year, which is essentially effectively the scale of your IMF program. So those losses, either at the electricity pole or in the counting rooms, are enormous. And I was very pleased to see President Mahama announce a panel to evaluate ECG and what reforms are necessary. And I'm looking forward to seeing the results of that.
A reform of ECG would put Ghana in a good place to benefit if there were to be any kind of power compact. It's almost like a precondition, right?
I think reform of ECG is going to be good for the Ghanaian economy, full stop. You need to do it because it'll be good for the Ghanaian economy, not just as an incentive.
No, because the minister talks about we need investment, and he's been talking about needing investment in the distribution chain, and the compact does provide money. So, and because you said that the preconditions may include the success of the previous compact, of which the ECG performance was one.
Right.
So that if we got ECG working better, it puts the country in a better position to benefit from more support on the power side?
It puts the country in a position to benefit from whatever assistance is available, but also from more foreign investment, all kinds of things. I mean, you face doomsor without sort of getting the power sector in workable condition. So it's essential. Another element of that, if I may speak frankly,
yes, please,
is that our independent power producers are owed hundreds of millions of US dollars. And we gotta be frank that investors in that sector don't invest without calling the companies that are on the ground already and saying, what's it like to invest in Ghana? Should I invest in Ghana or should I invest somewhere else? And they're going to say, Ghana's fabulous, Ghana's stable, it's democratic, the people are warm, their population is well educated,
they don't
but I'm not getting paid. And the bottom line is getting paid and getting paid on time is probably factor number one of the ones I listed.
Does the increased relationship African countries have with China worry you personally or the administration? Because there's this chart that we were shown where like 20 years ago, the US was our #1 trade partner for the whole of most of West Africa. Now most of us are doing more business with China. And that seems to be something your president harps on a lot. And the Chinese are also very active in Ghana. We do a lot of business with China. We have a very strong relationship with them coming in to sell goods here and that type of thing. How does that change the equation of the Ghana-US relationship?
You know, I'm very confident in the American brand. I think if the playing field is level, American innovation and creativity and the way we operate free from corruption is to the advantage of countries where we invest and trade. And I think we should help countries ensure that the playing field is level so that there's not a race to the bottom, so that whatever foreign company is coming in isn't exploiting your labor or polluting your environment or operating illegally in your gold mines. When that happens, American companies will prosper and the relationship will prosper. I think American companies need to show up for that to be true. So I encourage them not to be too risk averse in places like Africa, because there's certainly money to be made and those relationships will be mutually beneficial.
You will see a woman was some mudim which my cotier and some no bet me and comments no abreme. Na mejibre akinka edia mo fefe me ka we say channel we so Ghanatube so on subscribe hit on the notification bell for quick updates. Abia for sisi ade makram.